400,000 years ago, northwest Greenland was green. Sunlight poured down on the exposed land. A stream ran through the shrubby tundra. Life was abundant across the Arctic landscape. And then, the ice moved in. Hundreds of thousands of years later, the same sun that once graced the slopes of Greenland shines down in Vermont. It is spring 2022, and graduate research assistant Hallie Mastro sifts through sample after sample of ancient soil that, until recently, was frozen solid.
We started by sieving, so separating the sediment into different grain size fractions. This took us about the whole 2 weeks.
The work may sound tedious, but it's not without its rewards. Scientists from the University of Vermont discovered frozen plants and insects in the samples. Twigs, bits of moss, midges. While finding plants in soil might seem normal, these samples were anything but. They were recovered from nearly a mile beneath the surface of Greenland's massive ice sheet. The presence of plant material showed that 400,000 years ago, large parts of the Greenland ice sheet were gone. The ice core was pulled from a most unusual U.S. military base, a place called Camp Century.
On the top of the world, below the surface of a giant ice cap, a city is buried. Today on the island of Greenland, as part of man's continuing efforts to master the secrets of survival in the Arctic, the United States Army has established an unprecedented nuclear-powered Arctic Research Center.
Greenland was an optimal location for defense during the Cold War, and Camp Century, with its dozens of tunnels and a main street more than 1,000 feet long, was dug into the ice sheet. It protected more than 100 U.S. soldiers from biting Arctic winds, temperatures tens of degrees below zero, and potentially a shooting war. The camp even contained its own nuclear reactor, the most high-tech installation the ice had ever seen.
Arriving at Camp Century, Greenland, all the way by land, sea, and ice cap from Buffalo, New York, the massive components were moved into position deep under the ice, and with it, the magic of the atom, supplying light, heat, and power to the city under ice.
While stationed in the ice, the men took hot showers, drank cans of 3.2% beer, and stared at pinups of women thousands of miles away. But life was tedious in the dark and cold. Some men even tried to walk across the ice sheet just to escape the confines of the camp. Herb Ueda Sr., one of the drillers at the camp, remembered the struggle well.
The joke up there was, among all the guys, was if Camp Century was first prize, what the hell was the runner-up? What did the runner-up get? Purgatory?
Camp Century drove forward cold region science, including the study of how snow and ice behave, and how people cope with extreme isolation. To some, a prelude to planetary exploration. Drilling the first deep ice core was the camp's most lasting science achievement. The drill at Camp Century bore into the ice for 5 years, pulling up layer after layer of history. First, the ice from the time of the American Revolution, then the fall of the Roman Empire, and even deeper, the chill of glaciation that covered much of the planet in ice. Finally, in 1966, the Army's drill cut through the last layer of ice and into the sediment below. That sediment ended up in the Vermont lab decades later. The sediment tells a unique story about our planet's past. It also sheds light on our planet's frighteningly warm future. Today, Earth's atmosphere holds 1.5 times the amount of carbon dioxide than it did when the ice vanished beneath Camp Century, and the levels are steadily climbing. The ancient soil tells us the Greenland ice sheet is fragile. It's melted before, and as the climate warms, it will melt again. When glacier ice melts, once frozen water flows into the ocean. 400,000 years ago, when the ice sheets were smaller, sea level was at least 20 feet higher than today. Greenland's ice and the soil underneath it have witnessed more than 500,000 years of world history. Their secrets warn us of a watery, iceless future, as humans and the climate change we've caused warms the Earth. The coasts and cities we know could be washed away in a century or two as Greenland's ice melts. For the full story, tune into future episodes by visiting our website at www.ecc.org. www.campcentury.org. I'm Mary Keuser. Thanks for listening. This material is based upon work supported by the U.S. National Science Foundation under award number OPP 2114629.